Please help me welcome Screen Actors Guild Award, BAFTA, and Academy Award nominee, Kerry Condon. Hi.
I made it.
You did. I'm so glad. Have a seat.
Thanks.
What? That doesn't make any sense, but okay, but we'll get to the bottom of that later. So I got to sit with you a couple weeks ago at the Critics' Choice, and it made my night when you started talking and saying feckin'. Like in your actual vocabulary. I didn't know the word feckin' existed until I saw the Banshees of Inisherin, but it's not just like 100 years ago thing, it's a now thing. In fact, it's probably even more of a now thing than 100 years ago thing. Am I right, am I wrong?
You're right, and it's not a swear word at all. Like, my mother doesn't swear ever, but she says feckin' all the time.
It sounds like a swear, but yeah, so I guess you can get away with it. Like, because with F-U-C-K-I-N-G, I don't want to say it, in case there's like kids here. But you can only say it once before you get an R rating, then it's 2, but I guess you can say it as many times as you want.
But when you go on talk shows and stuff, if you say it, they take it away.
Feckin' or fucking?
Yeah, feckin'.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so anyways, it's not a swear word. You can say it till
I love
the cows come home.
With abandon. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, listen, obviously, there's magic between you and Martin McDonagh. There's just something about the two of you, your acting style, your performances just gel. Is there something in that relationship, or is it the history? Because you've worked together for, I think, 20 plus years, right? What accounts for it?
I'd say it's kind of a combination of things. Like, the first time he saw me do one of his plays, I was 17, and it was my first professional play. And he came to see it because it was years ago, like, and he'd time to be, going to see plays in the middle of nowhere, his plays. And so then after that, he offered me the part in Lieutenant of Inishmore, which was going to be on for a year and a half. So basically, like, I didn't go to drama school, or I didn't learn how to be an actress, so I kind of learned through doing his plays, really. And you learn so much when you do theatre, because, you hear the reaction immediately, so your comic timing and blocking and all these things that you need to will help you be a good actress, you learn them. So we kind of learned together, I suppose. Like, he was kind of there watching every performance and would give you notes after the performances and stuff. So being a critique of my performance wasn't seen as, oh God, I'm terrible, it's crap. It was just like, we just want it to be better. How do we want it to be better? And then as the years went on, I suppose it's just like, maybe he just likes having his friends around him too,
Right.
Yeah.
So when you first, now I know that Banshees of Inisherin kind of had different incarnations. It was going to be something a little bit different 7 years ago, and I'm sure you were given access to it pretty early on. What was your first reaction to Siobhan? Were you like, oh, this character's amazing? Were you not so sure? Because look what it's done. It's led to an Academy Award nomination and all this acclaim for you. Were you on board at first?
Well, I was on board because it was Martin's. Do you know, I did that tiny part in 3 Billboards because it was Martin. So I was like, of course, I wasn't going to be, ungrateful. But if I'm really honest, like, honestly, the first thing when I read it, the plays that I'd done, the parts were so good because they're these young girls who are real feisty and they say how they feel and they're tough as nails and real mouthy. And I was like, oh, Siobhan isn't as like wisecracking as Mairead was or whatever. Yeah, I was a bit disappointed. And then when I started kind of like, the rehearsals and I started kind of planning it, I was like, oh, hang on a minute now. She's actually kind of harder because there's a lot she's not saying, and there's only, like, there has to be glimpses of, like, her private world. And I was like, oh, this is, like, for a mature person. So it was the perfect timing for me.
I mean, there's a lot of guys around in this movie, right? I mean, like, a lot of guys on screen. Not that that's a bad thing, it just is. What were you conscious of being kind of the primary female energy in this film?
Well, when I had done the plays, like, I was the only girl in that too, but I had a gun on my shoulder for the whole play, so I felt like one of the fellas.
Oh, right.
and I'd no hair. I had to shave my hair and all for it. So for this, I kind of felt the same. Like, I'm quite tomboyish, and you know what I mean? So I didn't, like, I knew I was a female character, but I didn't feel like I wasn't really aware of that. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe that's not true. Actually, now that I think about it, no, it was a bit lonely. Yeah, it was a bit lonely because, you know, you can't as a girl be hanging out with the fellas all the time because it's like, oh, well, she's sleeping with Colin, you know. Do you know, so you can't have a laugh in the same way that if you're a fella and you all hang out, you know what I mean? So there's certain things you just can't do, and so I suppose I couldn't do them. But, you know, I didn't mind because there's, you know, strength in solitude, and I feel like that was great to learn, you know?
I'm glad we came around to that. Do you know, so tomorrow night I get to be back in this theater because we're doing a whole night with Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, and I'm so excited because I get to do that. But while I'm here with you, I also really want to pay tribute, along with you, to Barry Keoghan, who is just so fabulous in this movie. And I feel like his proposal scene to you has really taken off, and people have really glommed onto that scene, and they just love it. What are your recollections of kind of being by that lake? Because I'm sure he was cracking you all up at a lot of points in the movie, but in that scene, it just turns in such a beautiful way.
Oh, that was the very last scene that I shot. Yeah, and it was the last day of filming as well, so it was really like, there's a storm coming, like, we have to hurry, you know, we're all up against it or whatever, and it's like, yeah, right, lads. I need to relax. So that was the last day, and that was the first thing I remember. And then the second thing was, like, in my mind, you know, his character, you know, I kind of thought, like, over the years, he'd really unnerved her a bit. Like, you know, he'd kind of, I thought maybe, like, stolen clothes of hers off the washing line, and, you know, like, weird little things that was just like, he kind of annoyed her. And he was tactless and all. But at the point when he does this, she's decided that she's going to leave. And so she's able to kind of look at him in a motherly way and just, like, feel sorry for him, knowing that, like, you're not going to leave and you're stuck here with your dad, and feel sorry for him. And I think that just showed, like, her as a character just being, like, more evolved, I suppose, that she was able to have that sort of kindness towards him. And what else about that scene as well? Am I trying to think of what other stuff did we remember? Oh yeah, the lake as well that it was at. We had kind of thought that the parents, Porrig and Siobhan's parents, had drowned in that lake. And one of them, the backstory that we came up with was one of them had kind of been depressed their whole life and sort of suicidal, and that they probably commit suicide. And we didn't know if the other parent, like, saved them or they both commit suicide. So there was this hush-hush, like, oh, we never knew what happened. So when she comes to that lake, it's like goodbye to her parents and goodbye to the grief. Like, I can't get rid of this grief. Like, I have to get off this island or it's just going to strangle me. So I think that was another reason why she was able to have the compassion for Dominic. And it also sort of reminded me of a play of Martin's, The Cripple of Inishmaan. And I did that play for a long time. And at the end of that play, the cripple gets the guts up to ask Helen out. And it kind of reminded me, it's much different in the way that Helen reacts, but it reminded me of that, yeah.
It's a beautiful moment. You did such a wonderful job. Kerry,
Thanks
Condon,
a million.
congratulations.
Oh, it's done. Yay, thanks.
Was it that bad? Was it that bad? You were great.
Thanks very much.
Stay there. Is there anybody left? Yeah. Oh, wait. Austin Butler. Let's take a look at a scene from Elvis before I bring him out.